Yeah, I've been binging a bunch of fantasy book series recently, and this one kept coming up, the Five Warrior Angels. And the reason I even got into it was because one of the major where I get most of my next reads for fantasy is this fantasy book reader reviewer, this guy Matt, and he put The Forgetting Moon by Brian Lee Durfee, this series where my cursor is circling, in the S tier. So I figured I'd give it a shot, and I started reading it, and it was pretty good. I wouldn't put it in an S tier, but it did some really cool things in it. So I'm going to do a Truth is Stranger Than Fantasy review on it. Overall, I would give it's three books. I would give the series a 70 out of 100, right around there. And this fits around like my top, like, I don't know, 56 fantasy series. Reading me. It wasn't like the plot wasn't like, I mean, the plot wasn't that great, but it had some very interesting themes. First off, it had some of the best character development I've read in a fantasy series in years. Years. I didn't even like most of the characters. It has like five or six point of views in each book, probably a little bit more. But like, to be honest, I didn't really like any of them, but I still found each of their chapters interesting, which I normally hate with fantasy books that like do multiple points of view. I despise when they do that. And then like, why wouldn't you make each of the point of views something that the reader wants to dive right into? That doesn't like roll their eyes and get pissed when they see that the next chapter is going to be this point of view or that point of view. And that's how I felt when I first started reading this book. But after a while, I realized that like he was the exception to the rule, this author. Like, even though I had no desire to read. After reading a great like series of chapters or like a plot line from one character's point of view, and then getting to characters that I hated's point of view immediately after that, I wanted to put the book down, but I would plow through it, and it would be good, even though I still hated the character, but it would still be good. I don't know. It was weird. I've never seen that happen in any other fantasy book series. The guy was really, really good at writing like character development. I haven't seen anyone do that in a while. And the theme for the entire series, it's a trilogy, I thought was fascinating. It's about how scripture can dictate fate or destiny or history, and how easily it is for people's beliefs and faith to be manipulated in order to like control them. And I don't know, sounds crazy, right? But like throughout the book, the main plot is that they have the history of that world is there was like these five warrior angels that showed up to defeat the demons and send them into the underworld. And one of the five warrior angels was named Lejean, and he was crucified on a tree. And that was like the last action that happened before the demons were cast into the underworld. Jesus, right? Well, they made a book based on his teachings called The Way and Truth of Lejean. Like, the character's name is Lejean. That was like the Jesus figure. And it's like the Bible for the people of the story. Everyone follows it, like unquestionably follows it, much like real life. And everyone like says, like, when they stub a toe or something, they say Lejean, like how people say they stub a toe when they say Jesus. Like, it's like that similar. Which, by the way, why do we do that? Why do people say Jesus Christ when they're like annoyed? Right? That feels like a spell, a subconscious spell or something. I don't know. The main force of the book is this group led by this prince who has been conquering the five isles where the book takes place, because of these prophecies in these books called the chivalric illuminations, which are based, I think they're an analogy to, like, they're similar to like the Quran or Islamic hadiths, and where it's like more warlike, more like masculine aspect of the New Testament. And it's all based on like a prophecy about these five warrior angel having five weapons, mythical weapons, and mythical gems that were hidden throughout the realm. And the Bible says that there's weapons and gems went up, they got translated into heaven with Lejean when he died. But the chivalric illuminations, the Quran, say that they still exist, and that they'll all come to the leader of this book, which is Rachel, which supposedly was Lejean's son. And so the descendants of Rachel will somehow collect these five weapons and five gems and take over the five realms, which again, oddly similar to real life, right? And then it introduces like this other secret group that follows a different book, that no one's really heard of, but it's actually the real book. And they call it the Moon Scrolls of Mia, which are basically it's basically the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like, remember when the Dead Sea Scrolls came out? Why were the Dead Sea Scrolls such a big thing? Like, who cares? And why were they like so verified? And why was the media always pushing it? Moon Scrolls of Mia? Like, I felt like an obvious like the secret society groups were supposed to pick up on it and then adapt it as like their new thing, even though it was a plant all along, just like the Bible and just like the Quran by the same people. And then it gets into, I'll show it on the screen, the Book of the Assassins, which is called the Book of Betrayers. And it's these people that they realize that every other book, every other prophecy is not real. They're planning to bring about the rise of Jesus, or to bring about the second coming of Christ. And that's all that matters. Everything else is moot. So they can betray people, kill people, whatever, to get that to happen, to take over the world and get that to happen. And that's basically what the Protocols of Learned Elders of Zion is. It's almost exactly what it is. Honestly, if you want to, I think this book is these protocols are so great because they indirectly tell you how to make a perfect government, how to make a perfect ruling leadership for your country. Do the complete opposite of what, like, counter every single point that they put in this. The book is like it's fascinating. I think everyone should read it. Who cares if whoever made it, if it was the Jews or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just that it so obviously points out what the weakness in every single government and how a government should counter that. How you should make a country that counters each of those weaknesses. That's the fascinating part about it. Because it's not really the Jews. It's the demons controlling the Jews. The chosen ones, who's doing the choosing? The demons are doing the choosing. And that's why the Jews go by all their little rules, like what they do to the tips. It's all to cultivate a meat body for demons. That's a way off topic, but I can get more into that later. But the fifth book would be, it's something called the Angel Codex. And it's like a technical book in this fantasy series that gets into how things actually work down on like a exact basis, experimental basis. And it doesn't talk about faith or any of that shit. It's like real technical. And like, this is what you do to do this. This is what you do to learn this. And I equate it to the Talmuds. And it's not just the Talmud that most people think of when someone says the Talmud. They think of like the Babylonian Talmud, which is like a bunch of Jewish rabbis arguing legal court rulings and whatnot, or legal law or whatever. It's also the Talmud of Emmanuel, which straight up tells you exactly how to legitimately communicate with the creator of all things. And it's how everything works. Here it is right here. It's on archive.org. It might be a Dead Sea Scroll thing. And I don't think it's all 100% real. If I had to rank how true something was, the book of Matthew from the New Testament, I would rank like 30% true. The rest is lies or half-truths or bullshit. This Talmud of Emmanuel, spelled with a J, is it reads exactly like the book of Matthew, but I would put it at 70% true with 30% half-truths, lies, or bullshit. So if you want this is the most accurate take of the man we refer to as Jesus, who did exist 100%. And this is why, and it explains why he was such a big deal. It's because he figured out how to reconnect with the Creator, with God, that we can all do. It's not, you don't need like a book to do it. It's like riding a bike. Did you need a book, a how to ride a bike book to learn how to ride a bike? No, you did. And all these religions are trying to give you a how to ride a bike book, when really you just need to ride a bike. This is way off topic at this point. But that's basically what the whole concept of this entire book is. Because at the end, you find out, this is spoilers, that every single book was written by the elves. The elves manufactured the whole thing, because when humanity first showed up on the Five Isles in this fantasy series, humanity took over the Five Isles. They defeated the Ogles, who were like the orcs, the Valet, who were basically the elves, and the dwarves, who just decided to become farmers because they couldn't beat the humans, whatever. So the humans take over. So then the elves want revenge. So they do like 1,000-year revenge plan, where the elves figured out that humanity's biggest weakness is their adherence to belief and faith. So if they could control what humans believe and what they have faith in, they can control all of humans and get them to destroy themselves. And that's exactly what they do. All 5 of the books, the Bible, are the way and truth of Lejan. the Quran, the chivalric illuminations in the book, the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Moon Scrolls of Mia in the book, the Protocols of Elder of Zion or the Book of Betrayers in the book, in the fantasy series, and the Talmuds or the Angel Codex in the fantasy series are all written by the elves. No humans ever wrote any of it. So it's every single book is like controlling the belief and faith of the humans, even though not a single human wrote any of the 5 books that govern all the religions. And so they do that to like funnel humanity into killing itself through like war and prophecy. And to be honest, it's kind of true. Like I'll show the protocols of learned elders of Zion. It's from an FBI vault online. It's from the FBI website. It's not like I'm pulling this out of my ass or something. Protocol 1. What I'm about to set forth then is our system from the 2 points of view, that of ourselves and that of the goyim, i.e. non-Jews or Gentiles or cattle. I like to refer to it goyim as gentles, not gentiles, gentles. They're gentle creatures, cattle. And it sounds derogatory, but is it? I don't know. They're kind of right. I know it's dark to say that, but they kind of are right. Like, how many times does someone have to lie to your face before you stop believing them? 1 time? 2 times? 3 times? 4 times? How about 1,000,000 times? 1,000,000 times, and you still believe them? Like, that's what we're dealing with. That's what society's dealing with. I don't know how else to put it. Anyway, so in our day, the power which has replaced that of the rulers is the power of gold. Time was when faith ruled. The idea of freedom is impossible of realization because no one knows how to use it in moderation. See freedom of speech. That's been perfectly exploited by the elves because they just will take it to a whole different length. On one hand, you got Larry, the guy who made the porns. Larry, whatever his name is, it's just art or whatever. And then on the other hand, they would put it like where you can't criticize your own, can't say bomb in the theater. I don't know. Like they're good at loopholes, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, back to the actual story. It's one of the first books I ever read that explains how humanity's biggest weakness is their belief and faith in things. Blind belief and faith. Where most books side with the faith and belief, this is the first first fantasy series I read that says, no, that's bullshit. That could be easily manipulated, which it is in the book, and I think it is in real life. But I think there's a caveat to that. I think it can be the biggest weakness of humanity, but I think it can also be the biggest strength of humanity. Like, from a weakness standpoint, you get the medical industrial complex, but just the sheer belief and faith in that evil medical industrial complex, you get the placebo effect, which miraculously heals people solely based on their belief and faith in that whatever the experimental drug is, because it's a part of the medical industrial complex. So I think it's like the Fool card and the Tarot card deck. It's simultaneously the weakest and the strongest aspect of humanity. I think that's where Brian, the author, gets a little wrong with that, because he just attributes the entire thing to it's all weakness. But I think it's both at the same time. But yeah, the whole thing ends up being that the elves were tricking the humans the entire time just to get the humans to kill themselves so they could remove them from their own land that the humans took 1,000 years ago. But yeah, the things that I didn't really like in the book were like, had some unnecessary gore. Like, I feel like a few parts could have just been like simplified a lot without having to go into detail about it, but whatever. It's kind of hard to, in comics, you can do that with like a few panels. You can display that same level of gore in like a couple panels so that it's not like always in your head, but if you have to write it out, describe it, I feel like it's different. Like you're getting too into it. I don't know, but yeah, it's a small problem. Anyway, the other thing I didn't really like was that the author seems to, like, he had like an obsession with how armies that use women are somehow superior to ones that don't. I mean, I get where he's coming from, and I get like it's the whole everyone's equal thing, but really everyone's not equal. And just because men are better at war and killing and fighting and like athletic things does not make them better than women. I think that's the biggest issue with the whole liberal and conservative aspects of women, feminine, masculine aspects. Like, that whole thing, the biggest issue is that it's being graded on a masculine scale when really it's 2 completely different scales. They're just different. It's not like men are better than women. They're just different. That's it. different, not better. Yeah, men are better at fighting, running, leadership, like building, planning, all that, like manly things. That doesn't make men better than women. That just makes them better than women for those things. But overall, they're not better. It's just different. They have different strengths. Kind of go off topic, but there was this guy named Marion Petty. He was the World War II military driver in DC for every U.S. Army four-star general. So like Omar Bradley, Eisenhower, Patton, all the 3 to 4-star generals during World War II. This guy was the military driver in D.C. So when like Patton came back to D.C. to discuss stuff with the president or whatever, he was driving them around. And he also drove their wives around. And you know what he said? Marion Petty said that every single one of them, Patton, Bradley, MacArthur, Arnold, Eisenhower, even Roosevelt, before he became a presidential candidate, he was driven around by this guy when he was like 17, 18. And they all loved him. And he would drive around their wives and their family. And he said every single one of them, the most powerful men in the world, every single one of them was 100% controlled and motivated by their wives. So who's really running things? That's what I mean. Like, okay, it might seem like Eisenhower and Roosevelt, the men are running things publicly, but really privately, which is more important than the public, the feminine is running things. The subtle is running things. The feminine are subtle. The men are gross or public. Female is private or subtle. You don't see how they roll, but they do. It doesn't make either side better. That's all I'm trying to say. I think that's the biggest problem with all this. Women should be warriors. No, they shouldn't. That's dumb. That's borderline evil, in my opinion. They're not built for it. They shouldn't be that, ever. They should never be public speaking to other men to lead them into battle. Ever. That's like spitting in their face. It should never happen. Same with MMA. Women should not be fighting in a cage. Ever. That's what men do. Men shouldn't do that either. But it doesn't make men better than women. We're different. That's it. I feel like the whole thing with difference and superiority needs to be explained. Anyway, after that rant, see, he gets so into that. We have different strengths. Men are more public, better at fighting, better at athletic stuff. Doesn't mean women can't be athletic. Doesn't mean women can't speak publicly, but it's not their thing. It's not normally their thing. Just like men are not normally subtle, not normally private. Like women are not normally public. Not normally gross. Women don't laugh at farts. Men laugh at farts. Farts are gross. It's a man thing. Like it's really that simple. It's not better. It's different. Anyway, so I also didn't like I can read fantasy books where there's like an elite woman warrior. Like whatever. I'll read it, whatever. And this book even has like a good example of it. This one woman named Spades. She's a real character. And if she survives like 10 years of war nonstop, so obviously she would be great at fighting, right, and killing people with a sword. But some of the parts in it, it's like I don't know, I'm just nitpicky at this point. But like she takes like a veteran grown man's finger and bends it back against his grip to like break his finger, and then does it with each finger. I don't care how good of a fighter any woman is. They're never doing that ever to like a veteran man fighter ever, not once to any finger. It's not physically possible. I don't know. That is just nitpicky. Another good example of this is like how like people think Caitlin Clark in the WNBA could like be NBA players in 101. Like people are delusional. When I was a freshman in high school, we had this girl that was a 1,000-point scorer. She was a senior in high school. She was varsity team, senior girls varsity. They were like one of the best teams in the South Jersey, and they wanted to like get better, so they scrimmaged the freshman boys team, me, and like I didn't even start. But anyway, they scrimmaged us, and we went all out, basically full court pressed them. We were up like 21 to nothing after 5 minutes. They didn't get the ball. They didn't get the ball past half court. We were freshmen. They were seniors, and one of the best teams in South Jersey for girls varsity basketball. They had 1,000-point scorer, and legitimately, she would have been less skilled than just the average varsity point guard male. I'm not. It's just a fact. I don't know. Anyway, so it's like before the Super Bowl, Cooper DeJean from the Philadelphia Eagles, he went to the same school as Caitlin Clark, who's like blowing up in the WNBA. Idaho, and they asked Cooper, could you take Caitlin Clark in basketball? And he looks at her like, what are you, nuts? I'll destroy her. And the interviewer's like, really?
We saw the quote flying around. You said you could beat her one-on-one. I wanted to give you sort of a chance to set the record straight. Why were you talking about her, and why did you say what you said?
I was really just answering the question, but obviously, Caitlin's a special player. She's done so much for women's basketball and the University of Iowa in general. So I've nothing but respect for her. She took a shot back at me after she texted me and said that she doesn't think that I could beat her. I think it'd be fun though if we got to play each other. That'd be
Do
cool.
you think you could beat her?
Yeah. I mean, you don't think I
Mm,
could?
I don't know. I
You
don't.
don't think I could?
No.
I mean, I used to play
Oh
basketball
shoot! They're
when
running your
I was in
highlights.
high school.
Oh shoot! Oh wait, I didn't know all this. Let's see. Okay, let's talk. Give me your side of. I've seen a lot of Caitlin highlights. I've not seen yours. Talk me through these. Oh
Yeah.
snap! What?
I mean, I can jump a little bit, obviously, as you can see from these highlights. I got a little bit of a jump shot too. Not much is shown in here, but I really wanted to play basketball coming into high school. Like I wanted to play basketball in college, but it didn't work out. I stuck with football. Football was probably the better option for me.
There actually are these things called wraiths, and they're kind of like negative thoughts or negative influences. And the name of Lejean actually does protect people from. It's almost like it's like a auto protection. So if you don't follow Lejean, then you don't get that automatic protection from negative thoughts. You have to actually protect yourself. You know what I mean? And I think that kind of applies to this exactly like with real life with the name Jesus. And why is it always the name of? Why not just Jesus? Or why not just Lejean? You ever notice that they always have to put the name of before that? I find that interesting. I don't know. Like another thing is like how mainly the wraiths or the negative thoughts or the demons or whatever, they only go towards people that have experienced trauma in this book, which is exactly like real life kind of. And Brian Lee Durfee is actually a security guard for a max security prison, and I'm pretty fairly certain that he knows about Jerry Marzinski, who has spent like 35 years with paranoid schizophrenics in max security prisons, where he can basically prove that the so-called hallucinations that schizophrenics like the voices that they hear are actually legitimately demonic entities. And he can almost prove that all negative thoughts are demonic entities. And by like demonic, as in like a background process in computer programming is called a daemon. So they're like demonic entities in that way. Not all of them are evil. Maybe with the schizophrenics, most of them are evil, negative thoughts. But not usually. It could just be like a very mild negative thought. Like if it's the first time you've worked out in years and you go to the gym and you want to do 4 sets of bench press and you have like 1 set done, you're gonna start hearing in your head, 1 set's fine. We can call it a day. You did good. Let's call it a day. You start hearing voices like that. And what is that? It's not like why would yourself put those thoughts in your head? It's coming from somewhere else. It's a demon. It's like a background process, almost like a test to make sure that you're on the right path. Almost like you have to get past that to prove to yourself and the realm that you are worthy of the benefit of getting past it. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if Brian Lee Durfee knows about Jerry Marzinski, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did because the whole wraith thing is very similar to how like Jerry describes people that use the word Jesus to protect against demonic or like the hallucinations or voices of schizophrenics in prison.